ASMR Money Mentor. We'll get started in just a moment, but first, relax. I don't have tea this evening. I thought this might make a nice trigger though. It's water. So, cheers. Grab a beverage and join me for another week of episodes. Again on ASMR Money Mentor. Do you notice anything different about me this evening? Anything at all? Well, first of all, I'm sporting a new hat. This is a hat I got in Mexico. It's a sombrero, of course, that I'm still trying to get used to. I thought it might provide a nice trigger for you this evening. And what's this? Well, as you'll see in tomorrow's episode, I talk about the money that I spent on my financial independent freedom vacation to Mexico on a cruise. And along with the sombrero and a few other items that I'll show you tomorrow, I also bought this turquoise ring. I think I may have spent too much. I may have gotten swindled, as you'll see tomorrow. And in fact, tomorrow's episode I created a couple weeks ago. When I first got back from Mexico, I got a terrible cold, or maybe it could have been the flu, I'm not sure. Did you see in the news that some people that were taking cruises ended up being really sick? So I'm not sure what I had, but it lasted an entire week, and I was miserable. And you know what? I almost think that my freedom cruise was a little bit premature, because I don't know that I felt really relaxed. Because when you first quit your job, as you guys know I did, January 10th of this year, it takes a long time to decompress. To decompress. To decompress. To decompress. So I almost felt a little bit like rushed for some reason, and I wanted it to be a little more relaxing than it was, but no big deal. I don't regret going on the vacation. I spent way too much money, as you will see tomorrow. Some of you may remember from my previous episodes, I've never spent more than $600 on any one vacation over the past 20 years. So, needless to say, I spent way too much. I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, there's lots of different kinds of ways that people can relax through techniques of ASMR, at least I believe. And I like to blend those techniques with teaching you about financial literacy through the lens, as many of you know, of my own experience. So that's what this channel is all about. So again, grab a beverage and join me this week on ASMR Money Mentor. Which leads me to I don't know why I love this so much. This book. This book. This book. But inside this book that, as you know, I use with role plays quite a bit. Quite a bit. Lots of scribbles. 35.35. Remember, that's how much money I had in coinage. I really need to take these pages out. But page turning is very relaxing. And of course, I'm sporting a tie. I thought I would dress up for you this evening. I'm not sure why. Anyway, let's take a look on my other pieces of paper, what we have going on this week. Today is Monday, February 24th, that this episode is dropping. And my working title is going to be I'm so bad with money, but it's actually a good thing. So we'll be rambling about that here in just a few minutes. As I mentioned, tomorrow I'm going to show you what I spent on my vacation. The totals that I spent going on the cruise to Mexico. Wednesday, I'm going to do a reaction video to an episode from Erin Talks Money. Do you guys know her? Erin Talks Money is a YouTube channel where she talks everything money, and there was an episode that really resonated with me. I think I'm going to call it Young People Alert. Only 3% have more than $1 million saved. So I'm going to react to what she says about that. So think about it. I know some of you are young, some of you are middle-aged, some of you may be older, you might be my age, but 3% of people, only 3% have $1 million in investable assets. So think about that. If you're young right now, you have the capacity to not be under 3% of the people in the future that have less than $1 million. Maybe you could have more than $1 million. It's going to take dedication and consistency over time. Thursday, I'm going to do, or I have done already, an observation video where you're going to watch me paying my taxes. I know. It's going to be very interesting, though. No pun intended with interest. So, come back on Thursday because I'm still working on my taxes as I'm recording this. And it's actually unprecedented year for me in that I have to pay rather than getting a tax return, and I will show you why that is true. And it sounds like a bad thing, but it's really not. So come back on Thursday, and then Friday of this week I'm going to have another reaction video to an episode of Dave Ramsey where he talks to a 58-year-old single guy in Baltimore, Maryland that has nothing saved for retirement. And he's 58 years old. So I'm going to tell you what Dave told him and give you my reaction to that. So let's go back to my notes for today. And again, grab a beverage and relax. Relax, relax, relax. So, today's episode was actually inspired by a comment that I received from a subscriber. And I'm gonna talk through what she said and then give you my reaction. So, she reacted or gave a comment to my episode of 3 Habits of Millionaires. She said, "I'm so bad with money." She said she's never in debt, but she hardly saves. She's always spending on impulsive purchases rather than saving even for future travel plans. She said she's definitely going to watch my other episodes, and concentrate perhaps even on tip number 3 in my video, where I talked through the 3 habits of millionaires, or I should say common habits of millionaires. And the third thing that she's referencing is valuing future security over material items. Where you value security, and remember, security is where you do not need an income from a W-2 job. That you have created an engine so large that that engine then creates income for you, either in the form of passive income through perhaps real estate, or for most people I think it would be through mutual funds that have grown perhaps through the S&P 500 over the course of many years, and that engine then also creates passive income for you as well. So, thank you, by the way, for that comment. And I just need to take a few minutes in this episode then and really talk through how much that comment meant to me, and it really makes me understand that many of you that are watching my episodes are perhaps at the very beginning of your journey. You are like me back in 2005, and perhaps even 2003, when I went up in the Space Needle and I looked at Mount Rainier and I said, "Evan, you've got to figure out personal finance. You don't want to be a train wreck forever." And so it's in those moments when I hear comments from other people that really truly make me understand perhaps the value that I may be delivering through my episodes, that what I'm trying to convey through ASMR and through whispering, through these wealth whispers, is that I want people to wake up. I don't want you to be sleeping through your entire life and then waking up and say, "Why did I not do what I should have done to be where I should be?" You don't want to wake up when you're 60 and be broke. And so, for this person to say, "I'm so bad perhaps more importantly, to convince herself that maybe she just had a turning point in her life where she's now understanding that she is bad with money. Most people don't even have that awareness and wake up. I just said a few minutes ago that only 3% of people in retirement have more than $1 million, even though they probably made millions of dollars in their career over a lifetime, but they squandered it all. They spent it all. So when you look at a 30 or 40-year time frame of somebody's life of working, it's almost like you can't give them grace in terms of their inability to build wealth because the income was there. They chose not to save it. Now, I can understand if it's a shorter time frame where you may have some financial struggles like I did when I was younger. But when you stretch out many, many years into the future, in my opinion, there's real no excuse for not doing well with money. You're just fooling yourself if you think or blame the government or your partner. We'll be talking about that this week on Friday's episode. That person I mentioned that Dave Ramsey had talked to was married, he said, to a spender. And yet, I don't know why people blame their partners, because we should all have enough belief in ourselves that we don't blame others. The blame needs to go to ourselves. And so for this comment, for this person to say, I'm so bad with money, is a good thing. The awareness is there. Now, luckily, she said she's never in debt. But she also went on to say, I hardly save. Always spending on impulsive purchases rather than saving. Now remember, you're going to come back tomorrow and watch my episode where I talk through what I bought in Mexico. This hat, this ring, and a few other items. So my total dollar amount that I spent on the vacation was more than I ever spent, and I'll share that number with you tomorrow. It could have been half that amount if I did not buy this ring, if I did not buy the other things that I'm going to share with you. It was the first time in 20 or 30 years that I spent impulsively on purchases. I did not want this ring. I did not go to Mexico saying that I'm going to come back with a turquoise ring. But it spoke to me, and I'll tell the story tomorrow of how and why I bought this ring. The other purchase I bought was silly, and I'll share that with you again tomorrow as well. I did not go to Mexico thinking I was going to buy that item. So, yes, those were impulsive purchases. But unlike the comment from this person, do you see the difference? I waited until the end of my working career when I retired with $1.6 million, or 1.7. It's almost 1.7. And then I decided to buy a couple items. But this person is saying that she's been buying impulsive things perhaps for a very, very long time without having the savings and investable assets first. That is the difference, right? So hopefully that makes sense. CENTS, right? Always remember, making sense of money is understanding the basics of it, and that, to me, just makes sense. So she said she's always spending on these impulsive purchases rather than saving. And then she said, of course, she would definitely go back and think about tip number 3. tip number 3, remember, was valuing security over anything else. At the beginning of this episode, I said to you that on my episodes, I talk through my own experience. That's all I can do. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't want to be a financial advisor. I like to coach people on money. That does not mean anything about what mutual funds you purchase. Who cares? As long as they are well diversified. It could be with Vanguard, Fidelity, Charles Schwab, whoever. Low-cost index funds that ride the market of the S&P 500 is what I truly believe in. Now, just as a little bit of a side note here, I had a recent comment on my channel, which I'm going to respond to this afternoon, or tomorrow afternoon, where that person was asking me my thoughts on what do I think about the S&P 500 over time. Is 10% going to be good? That's what he was asking. And my answer will be something to the effect of yes, over the course of 30 to 40 years. Maybe not for the next 10 years. Vanguard, as I shared with you in a previous episode, recently came out with a study that said that they think equities, meaning stocks, are going to be pretty low for the next 10 years, and that bonds may give higher returns. That doesn't mean, or I'm not implying, that we should all run out and buy bonds. I'm just saying that the valuation of stocks is high, but if you're buying the shares, even though they're high, that's okay, because when you spread it out over the course of 30 to 40 years, that average rate of return is going to go higher because you're giving more years for that compounding interest and the leveling of the overall average over time, if that makes sense. But in the next 10 years, it could be lower. So that's something I will write back to that person, and I just wanted to share that with you briefly. And to tie together this whole concept of valuing security over material items and building, again, that engine that is really large so that it can generate income for you. So, with that, everybody, I'm going to think about closing out this episode, but before I do, thank you to that person that wrote that comment. I would recommend for you, as well as others, to go back to my episodes where I numbered them. I used to number my episodes. Just scroll down the list or go to the playlist, and it says Evan's Journey to Financial Independence, I think is what I titled that, and start watching episodes 1 through 62, maybe 1 or 2 a day. It'll take you a month or 2 to watch those, but you'll get a good understanding of what I did over the course of 15 years to build the 1.6 million. Again, with the disclaimer that you've got to be smart with your money. You have to have income. You've got to know what to do with that income every single year, and you have to commit to valuing security over material items. And that is how you can get to where you'll want to be in the future. So, to wrap up this episode, I think it's a good thing, and thank you again to the person that wrote that comment. It's a good thing that she had the awareness that she's bad with money, because I think now, even after she watches this episode and she hears that I kind of called her out on that comment in a good way, she's going to have now what it takes to make a correction so that in another year, another 5 years, she's not looking back and watching my episodes again and saying, why did I not make a change? That change is solidified in this person's brain, I'm sure of it. And I want this